Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
And it's Tuesday, December 2nd. Glad you're here with us on the Sports IQ. I'm Larry Smith. Glad you're with us. Hey, we've got a lot of, obviously, it is college football, big stories here. It's going to be all week long. You know, tomorrow is National Signing Day. And by the way, if you don't think that's one of the top 5 reasons why all this coaching stuff is happening and the way it's happening, you're just not paying attention. This was a date that used to be in February, and then there were 2 dates, and now there's one. We'll get more into that tomorrow, but that's a big day. Obviously, a lot of coaching news. We'll get to that here in a moment. We will listen into part of Lane Kiffin's conversation as well, or his presser, as he was introduced on Monday down in Baton Rouge. A couple of great guests today. Mike Vrabel joining us. He's a longtime Penn State writer, been on the show before. Great friend of the show. We're going to talk about the Nittany Lions and their search as they try to find the replacement of James Franklin. You know, the school that kind of started all this, right? I mean, UCLA was the first, and Virginia Tech. But the firing of James Franklin was the shot heard around the college football world, right? And so here they are, still looking for a coach. Looks like they're trying to nail it down. We'll get the details from him here in a couple of minutes. And then in just a bit, Anwar Richardson, will he make the case for Texas being in the college football playoff? Tonight is going to be the it's the final rankings, if you will, because they'll make the announcement on Sunday. And if last year is any indication, they didn't move much from this. So, that comes up tonight. It'll be part of our conversation tomorrow, to be sure. There's no question. Okay, a couple of headlines very quickly. The New England Patriots, folks, what a great story. Now, 11-2, they took care of the Giants last night, 33-15. Drake May does it again, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And so now there's some MVP buzz for the second-year quarterback out of North Carolina. What a story up there. First-year coach Mike Vrabel. They've now won 10 straight games. They now have a bye week this week. Next game is against Buffalo next week up in Foxborough. If they can beat the Bills, they will clinch the AFC East, and they will stop Buffalo's 5-year streak of winning that division. So again, we'll talk more NFL here in just a bit. Quick baseball news for you. The Mets, they signed former Yankees pitcher Devin Williams, 3 years, $51 million. He struggled a bit, 4.79 ERA last year, but when he was on 90 Ks and 62 innings of work as a reliever across town. College basketball, how about a big slate tonight? 15th ranked and defending champion Florida at Duke, the Blue Devils, number 4 in the nation, 8-0. By the way, all these games tonight, we're done with the whole neutral site now. That was like a November thing. These are all campus sites. So this game, the Gators and Blue Devils in Durham. A bit later, it is in Lawrence, Kansas. The 21st ranked Jayhawks hosting 5th ranked UConn. The Huskies look strong, but kind of struggled late against Illinois before getting the win at Madison Square Garden last Friday. Now they take on Kansas. Number 1, Purdue opens Big Ten play. They're at Rutgers tonight. Remember, the Big Ten, they play 20 league games, so they get a couple out of the way before the holidays. That begins tonight. Number 1, Purdue again at Rutgers. 7th ranked Michigan State is at home against Iowa. Spartans up 4 in this week's AP poll. One other really big matchup, a couple of Blue Bloods at Rupp Arena tonight. 18th ranked Kentucky hosting number 16 UNC and their star freshman Caleb Wilson. Can't wait for that contest tonight. Women's basketball, top ranked UConn is at South Florida. In the NBA, the Pistons rally to beat the Hawks 99-88. Cade Cunningham, 18 points, 8 of those in the final, 321 to spur that rally as Detroit now goes to 17-4. And a cool story, New York Jets, by the way, putting a $1 million investment to start a college flag football league. This is saw this in the USA Today. The ECAC will begin women's flag football in 2026. It's a growing sport in population all over the country, in popularity, I should say. They're going to finish their season with a tournament, a playoff format tournament at MetLife Stadium in May of 2026. Pretty cool stuff there for women's flag football. But as we mentioned at the top of the show, obviously college football is dominating this week, and for good reason. Joining us once again, friend of the show, Mike Gross, a veteran Penn State reporter. He is host of the Gross Rational Product on Substack. By the way, you got to check that out. Mike, we always enjoy your takes, and so we're always thrilled when you're joining us here on the show. Penn State is done, and now the coaching search. They were kind of the school that started this. I mean, UCLA and Virginia Tech, 0-3, and they did. But it was the James Franklin hire that where we went, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? And yet here we are, still kind of trying to lock in a coach. What's the latest right now in trying to get a new head coach?
Well, I'm tired of hearing about Jimmy Sexton, for one thing, for God's sake. And supposedly, Penn State fired James Franklin, and James is Jimmy's boy. So now Penn State is crossed off the cool kids list, and so they're scrambling. I don't know. I can't believe that agents have the kind of influence that they apparently do, or this particular agent. I guess I don't know. I thought that the James Madison coach Chesney would have been a great hire for Penn State. I talked to some people who know him, and I'm tremendously impressed with what he's done, and maybe the model that he's done it, where he's succeeded at different levels. Division III won immediately. Division II won immediately. FCA, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Would be a great model. I thought they would have, from almost the beginning of this, I thought he would have been a great hire. And now apparently he's kind of being funneled to UCLA. And I can't believe if you're him, you'd rather be at UCLA than Penn State. I don't know. But supposedly Sexton has something to do with that. So we're on to Kalani Satake, who would be, I have believed all along that Penn State's going to get a good coach. And if they get this guy, he's a good coach. I mean, they went from non-Power 5 to the Big 12 3 years ago. They had one kind of what's this all about year, and since then, 22-3. That's not bad. And he seems like a good sort of cultural fit for Penn State in every way except geographic. He has not been in our part of the world at any point of his career as a player or as a coach. But so now it's starting to look like Satake, and I think that would be okay.
Yeah. I think, and for all the reasons you mentioned, the one concern, like you said, is that it's such a hotbed there in the East. Obviously, somebody like Chesney, like you said, knows that area, knows a region. Great fit if you can't have Cignetti, which Indiana said we're not going to play this game early on. Then he's an excellent plan B. I do think Satake can have success, but like you said, the question is in terms of regionally. I mean, you can hire a staff that knows the East Coast, but it's still it may take an adjustment. To be fair,
yeah, I think that's probably right, and we're talking about this. Apparently Penn State and Satake are talking. So it sounds like which obviously they wouldn't be happening if there wasn't some interest on his part. And he's not, as I understand it, now the information is not as available for a private school as it is for a public school. But as I understand it, he's not making a ton of money compared to the people in this ballpark, and the spending on football is a little behind most of the national powers. So maybe that's a concern. Although they're going out and buying basketball players, right, that are lottery picks, So I don't know. You think they'd want to throw some cash at football too? A school that has an excellent football tradition. I mean, think about some of the people that played there and coached there. So anyway, if it ends up being Satake, that I think that would be. It might not be seen in Nittany Nation as a big win, but I think it would be a pretty solid hire. And if not him, maybe you start talking about Brian Hardline again.
Yeah. He was a finalist for the job at Kentucky and didn't get that, as Will Stein went there, as we'll talk here about in a few minutes. What's the feeling about this Penn State season? Regrets on firing Franklin when they did? Is there any talk of that? Or they feel like this had to happen? Or now the season is done? What's being said there in State College?
I think there are some people who regret firing him, especially. I think people get antsy when it goes on this long with the coaching search. People just get antsy and get impatient, and I think there's a little bit of that, but that's not the major thing. I think most people. I think even if you didn't love firing him when they did, after that Northwestern game, after the way they face planted after the loss to Oregon. It was hard to imagine James Franklin being their head coach on opening day of the 26th season. To me, and I think to a lot of people. So that's I think most people are sort of still in that mode of thinking, generally speaking, and now a lot of people are mad at Pat Kraft, the athletic director, because it doesn't. Their sense is that he's mismanaging this.
Yeah, well, but I think too, and I want to get your thoughts on this. And I mentioned at the top of the show that with tomorrow being the signing day, that's the new date. It was in February. Then it was 2 dates. Now they moved it. This is just a single date of this.
Yeah.
If there are 5 reasons that have fed into this new crazy world of college football coaching, that's one of the 5. You want to get these guys in place to make those phone calls and to keep the recruits you have, maybe poach some from where you're coming from. But December 3rd is now a major day on the college football calendar, and that throws everything off when you've got coaches that are right now still not only bowl games, which the bowl games aren't what they used to be, but with the playoffs coming up. And if you're trying to get the very best coaches or from the very best staffs, you're trying to poach from them to improve your school. You've got a waiting game, and just there's going to be a collision every early December, it appears, from here on until they change the way we do things.
Yeah, and even having the transfer portal open during the playoff is bizarre.
Right.
That's another piece of this, because you gotta use both, high school recruiting and obviously portal to build your roster. Now that's the way it is. I mean, you would have to turn over the recruiting class very quickly, no matter what. I mean, that's for everybody. So I think they're going to take a hit this year with their recruiting. I think they only have 7. At one point, they had more than 20 kids signed in this or committed in this class, and now they have 7 that are still committed. Now, and some of them have, I'm open my recruiting, but I'm not really ruling out Penn State. I'd say that's the majority of them, actually. So signing day is going to be a really interesting day for Penn State, not knowing who, if they don't know who the coach is. I imagine that we might hear something about this within the next 24 hours.
Yeah. Hopefully it's something soon. And again, BYU, by the way, 1 loss. They're in the Big 12 title game against Texas Tech. They have a shot if they win. Then obviously they get the automatic bid. If they lose, they probably will not get an at-large bid to the playoff. I want to get your thoughts on Lane Kiffin. Obviously, the big news on Sunday, leaving a team in the middle, not just of a playoff run, but really the contender for the national championship. Your thoughts on that? I've kind of felt that I don't blame Lane for taking the money. $12 million, who wouldn't take the money, right? But at the same time, to walk away not just from a team enjoying its best season in decades and a chance at a national championship, I don't blame Ole Miss for saying, no, if you're not here, you're not going to coach this team.
Yeah, and that's right. And it is a weird thing. And part of it is the calendar, as we just talked about. And part of it is that Lane Kiffin is kind of this pro wrestling villain personality. And he just can't. I think he just loves chaos. I think I said a couple years ago, Penn State played Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl a couple years ago, and they really beat Penn State pretty badly. And I was so impressed with his offense and the way he was able to use the portal to build quick. And you saw it this year where he lost Jackson Dart, and here we are with the same machine run. I kind of said, I remember talking to some guys on the airplane going home, and I was saying, I think this guy is the guy for this current moment in college football. He is the guy in a lot of ways, not the least of which is that he can really coach offense. I think he's as good as anybody at that. So could he win anywhere? Maybe. I don't know. I think LSU is a better job than Ole Miss, but I'm not 100% sure it's a blowout. The thing where he doesn't coach in the playoff, I mean, that's just weird. But again, as you said, if you're Ole Miss, I don't blame them for moving on, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform without him, but with his system, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to your point, even with the quarterbacks, not only losing Jackson Dart, but losing the starter coming out of camp to
That's
injury.
right. Yeah, yeah. I
Division
forgot
two
about
kid
that.
coming
Yeah.
in, this who just the Trinidad champ, who has been fantastic. So not only is the heir apparent, did you not do it with him? You did it with another guy and still went 11-1. I think that listen, hats off to the staff
But
and the pulling this off.
it seems like it would be a very difficult system to teach in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
They play so fast.
Yeah.
That's the only time I always, when I'm covering a football game, I have a legal pad and I kind of keep a running play-by-play. That's the only time I've ever covered a football game at any level where I was writing and the next play was already underway.
Right.
Consistently. That was happening consistently.
Yeah.
That never happened to me before. It seems like an extremely difficult, complicated system to be good at. Not to learn it, but to be good at it and to be as precise. And I'm impressed with Kiffin as an offensive mind.
Yeah.
No question. I don't think there's anybody better than him.
Yeah, no question at all. Well, it continues on. Listen, enjoy whatever Wednesday's going to bring and the rest of this week. And we know we're knocking on your door soon to talk about a little Penn State football.
All righty.
Okay. Pleasure. Mike, thanks so much. Mike Gross joining us once again. He is, be sure to check him out on Substack, the Gross Rational Product, veteran Penn State writer. Love getting his thoughts here on the show on Sports IQ. We appreciate his time. Stay with us. We've got more on the way. We'll talk some other coaching news, including Kentucky, what they did. Also, we'll talk UCLA, and we'll hear from Lane Kiffin in the next block right here on the Sports IQ.
Are you tired of your website making your business look bad? Is your current web developer dropping the ball? Let's face it, if your website isn't making you money, it's broken. Let Neon Rain create a website that turns your visitors into customers. Neon Rain has worked with hundreds of businesses across North America, building custom websites and applications with modern designs that are easy to update and work well on mobile devices. They can do it for you too. What sets Neon Rain apart? They actually deliver on their promises. Call today for a free consultation. 303-957-3092. That's Neon Rain at 303-957-3092. Or visit them at neonrain.com.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Some other college football news. Great to talk to Mike there about the situation at Penn State. Kentucky has their guy, Mark Stoops, 13 seasons, longest in school history, 72 wins, most in school history. He was the longest tenured SEC coach, third in Division I in Power 4, I should say, behind Kirk Ferentz at Iowa and Dabo Swinney at Clemson. But he is out. Stoops has gone $37.7 million buyout that he's agreed to take over several years, not just in 60 days. Why not? He's out. Will Stein is in, 36-year-old offensive coordinator from Oregon who remained with the Ducks through their playoff run. He's a Kentucky native, grew up in Louisville. Parents went to Kentucky, went to UK, so they're excited to get him to come in and bring his offense that has produced back-to-back in the last two seasons, 23 and 24, back-to-back Heisman Trophy finalists. UCLA grabbing Bob Chesney from James Madison. Why not? The last James Madison coach, Curt Cignetti, you've heard of him. You know what he's doing at Indiana, so they'll see if that has some more fruitful waters in Chesney. Meanwhile, the big story, of course, is Lane Kiffin. Leaving Ole Miss that not only is bound for the playoffs, but if things work out well this weekend, had he been there and had the committee, we'll see what the committee decides with their seeding, possibly could have been a top 4 seed and had a bye in the first round of the playoffs. But he's not there. He's now at LSU, and his introductory news conference was on Monday there in Baton Rouge. And here's how bizarre LSU football is. He even took the time to thank the governor. Lane Kiffin did in his thank you remarks opening statement. Again, that doesn't happen anywhere else. I didn't see John Summerall thanking Ron DeSantis down in Florida, right? I mean, it's a different ball game in Louisiana, and he admitted, he said this place, he starts off right away, admits that things are just a little unique there in Louisiana.
I'm very honored to be the head coach of LSU. I can sum it up by saying this place is different. And having watched this place for a long time, having been on the other sidelines in the stadium, this place is different. And that's why we're here. We have a lot of work to do with that, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to lead one of the elite programs in all of sports. Leaving Ole Miss was extremely difficult decision. And in that, we tried every single thing possible to continue to coach the team through the playoffs and to continue to coach the players. In the end, that was their decision, and we totally respect that and appreciate the time and energy that we tried to figure out a plan to do the best thing at the time for those players. The last 6 years of my life have been the best 6 years of my life. And I owe that to all the players, all the assistant coaches, and the people of Oxford. It was amazing. It will forever be a major part of my story. I'm so grateful for those relationships and all of those people that I got to meet. But the opportunity at LSU, as I said before, is just different. Someone very close to me reminded me this week in this decision that LSU is the best job in football. When you take the history, tradition, passion, and the great players in the state of Louisiana, no one can argue that when you're in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night, there is nothing like it. This place is built for championships with championship expectations. We understand that. But as an elite competitor, that's exactly what you want. And that's why we're here. You know, over the past few weeks, and especially the last few days, trying to figure out this decision. And I really tried to channel my dad. And I thought of when I spoke at his funeral. And when I spoke, it occurred to me as I was writing that speech, I never understood why as a kid we moved so much. And I realized he had moved 17 times. But during that funeral and during that week when he passed, the amount of people that reached out to me that were either at the funeral, wrote letters, wrote notes to me, found my number, texted me, was amazing from all the different places that he went. And it became apparent to me, and I spoke on that, that happened for a reason. He went to all of those different places for a reason. He didn't stay one place. He went to all those places so he could connect with all those people, impact all those people, be impacted by all those people at the different places. And so as I thought about that, even with the best 6 years, it became apparent to me what the decision was. My journey has been unique, to say the least, but I believe everything that I've been through has prepared me for this moment at this place right now. I also believe everything happened exactly how it was supposed to happen, when it was supposed to happen. And that'll be clear someday, that all of it did. Our program here at LSU will be designed top to bottom to be the #1 destination for elite players in all of America. That's why we're here. Our immediate priority is assembling the best staff in the country and securing top talent. The mission is simple: bring the best players in the country to LSU. And it starts right here in the state of Louisiana. To win big, as you go through this decision and you look at different places and all the things involved, to win big, you need everybody pulling in the same direction. And I felt through this process that definitely the leadership here at LSU was all in line and all in place to give us that. I know that we have, with the passion of LSU family and our LSU players, that we have everything to bring championship football back to LSU. It's time for LSU to take its place back as the best program in all of college football. And that's what we're here to do. So thanks for everybody showing up. Thank you for believing in me. Let's go to work and go Tigers.
Once again, that's Lane Kiffin in his introductory comments. By the way, of the 16 SEC coaches, six new coaches next year at those 16 schools in 2026. SEC, just different this year as well. Okay, one of those SEC schools, Texas, maybe in the hunt for a college football playoff berth. We will see. We'll talk with Anwar Richardson of OrangeBloods.com up next.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Listen, the team we're all talking about here heading into tonight's college football playoff rankings, the one that really matters, because after now there won't be a lot of movement. I mean, you can kind of get a feel for what the committee's thinking after tonight. It's Texas. 9-3, but listen, I'm going to make our next guest coming up is going to make the case. I'll make it for him. 3 wins against the top 10, 5 games total against the top 10. The one bad loss at Florida, but this is a team right now. I got to be honest, if I'm on the committee, I'm having a hard time keeping them out. Anwar Richardson joins us once again, our friend from OrangeBloods.com. Anwar, good to talk with you. Let's first talk about that game Saturday night, in a game that Texas had to win. And man, it was thrilling from my seat on the couch. I can't imagine how electric it was right there in Austin.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big game because, not only for what was at stake, which was a lot at stake for both teams, right? For Texas A&M, that was the opportunity to go to the SEC championship game. For Texas, the margins were really slim. If Texas wins that game, all of a sudden you're still in the playoff conversation. You still have some hope. If you lose that game, you're at 8-4. And you go from a preseason #1 ranking to 8-4. That is a fall offs, right? So it was big for that component. Then you add in the rivalry game. Then you add in that it's on Friday night, so it's got a prime time slot in there. And then it just ended up being a really, really good game, And I thought, both teams played really well. It was really competitive for the first half, and then Texas just sort of pulls away in the second half. They're able to run the ball effectively, something that they hadn't been able to do. You saw Arch and be able to do the things that we know he can do, but the receiver stopped dropping balls, and he just started taking things into his own hands. The offensive line played well. And you saw a defense that started attacking. And for a team that was the #3 team in the country, Texas goes ahead and they pull out that victory. So it ends up being, for Texas, regardless of what happens with the playoffs, at least they can go into this offseason and on a high note. We'll see what the committee does on Tuesday night. Steve Sarkisian afterwards kind of pounded a table and made his plea as to why he feels like Texas should be in the playoffs. And, look, it's giving people something to think about. Will it move the committee? We'll see. But at least he's given a plea. He's put those things out there. But at least for Texas, it ends up being kind of closing on a high note for a season that had probably some highs and also some lows.
Yeah, there's no question. I think even in the 2 overtime wins, the close wins against Mississippi State and Kentucky was one like, wow, wait a minute, what are we talking about here? But they finished up strong. There's no question. Listen, I have no problem with him. I mean, listen, after Nick Saban was in the college, the CBS Sports studio show, they're inside the dome lobbying for his Alabama team to get in when they weren't playing in the SEC championship game on that night, and it worked. They went, yeah, you're right, after he spent 3 hours participating. So I have no problem with Coach Sark doing that because he's right. I mean, listen, if you've got the platform and you got a mic in your face, why not?
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing is, that's what a coach should do. And that's what a coach is supposed to do for his program. Now here comes the hard part. How do they get in? And that is where the challenge becomes, because the argument the Texas argument is not cut and dry. It's not an easy one. And because it's not an easy one, that's where you say, I don't know if that's going to happen, because you can point to all the top teams that they've faced this season. You can go down their schedule, whether the wins that they had, which we could talk about the Oklahoma win, you could talk about the Vanderbilt win, you could talk about the Texas A&M win. You can also talk about the teams that they also played. They played Ohio State, they've played Georgia, right? So they've gone through a gauntlet of teams. And so there's an argument to be made that says, hey, man, this actually ended up being a tougher schedule for Texas than anyone anticipated. And they do have the 3 top 10 wins. Now, the challenge of it, and this comes the flip side, which is people will say to point to the Ohio State game. And I do want to circle back to that. So let's put a pin in that. But it's where Texas kind of struggles in their argument is Florida happened. And it's hard to ignore that Florida happened. Now, Texas will point to you and say, okay, but FSU beat Alabama, and UF just dog walked FSU over the weekend. So why is one this way and one is not way? Why is one bad loss okay and another bad loss is not? In a vacuum, that sounds good. But then Georgia happened. And if you have a respectable loss against Georgia, 3 points, 7 points, maybe it's an argument that can be had. 25 points, that's a hard one. That's a hard one to overcome. So that's where Texas is they've stubbed their toe, because look, if you beat Florida, then maybe you're only at 2 losses. And the question always before the season was, can a 9-3 SEC team make it into the playoffs? Mm-hmm. And we all asked that before the season. It didn't happen last year. I'm not quite sure that the committee is going to leapfrog Texas over all these other teams. Now, the real question becomes, and this is where Texas has to start really thinking about it, is going forward, how do they address their non-conference schedule? Because it's a twofold thing. Because Sark pointed it out. Hey, we at least put ourselves out there, and we did try to go ahead and play Ohio State, and we're scheduling these tough teams. But if the risk outweighs the reward, what do you do? Because here's the thing, Tony. When you look at Texas's non-conference schedule over the next 4 years, okay. Now remember, the SEC is going to move to 9 conference games start beginning next year. Well, let me tell you some of the non-conference opponents that Texas has lined up. Next year, they face Ohio State at home. In 2027, they face Michigan. That will be at home. In 2028, they've got Notre Dame. And then in 2029, they have Notre Dame, in addition to the 9-game conference schedule. So now where Texas has got to start thinking is, look, if it's all about the race to 10, if it's just about a race to 10, and that's all that matters is that you get 10 wins and that's it, then they have to ask themselves, do we go the way of Indiana? And do we just say, you know what, let's just cancel these tough games? Because you know what, at the end of the day, you know what they're not talking about right now as we talk about the playoffs? You know, in Indiana, they canceled Virginia a couple of years ago. No one's talking about that. No one's talking about the teams that Indiana took off the schedule in order to get to someplace. All they're doing is talking about, hey, you know, Indiana, you see what they're going to be in the championship game. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs, right? So that's where Texas has got to think, okay, if the risk outweighs the reward, do we need to start working smarter and not harder? And that's where Texas is at. They're working harder. But if everybody else is going to work smarter, then that's when Sark says, we'll maybe just cancel it. Now, look, there would be an outlash. There would be a backlash about it. But then at the end of the day, will people really care? Because if that's what the committee has to decide. Hey, you're playing these tough teams. We're going to reward you for that, or we're going to punish you for it. If there's a punishment association with it, there's a Northwestern for everybody, a Purdue for everybody, an NC State for everybody. You can go down the list, your Stanfords of the world, just go down the list. You can have a P4 win and then call it the day. So I think what the committee does will not only shape what Texas decides to do in the future, but other programs, because it's going to say, is it worth playing these games, or do we just play a bunch of cupcakes and try to get to 10?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely. If that's the litmus, if that's the bar where it is right there, that's exactly right. You know, and it's one thing too. We were talking about in terms of when you look at the scheduling across the board. If Texas, Notre Dame, and Miami are all left out of the playoff, how fast do we get to 16 teams on Monday? I mean, because today was supposed to be the deadline. They're going to decide if they're going to expand. They deliberately put that back. They delayed that decision. I think if you have those 3 teams out, and there's a chance that maybe only one of the 3 right now get in. Right now, looks like Notre Dame is ahead of the others. And if you look at the rankings, we'll see what they say on Tuesday night. How fast we get to 16-team playoff? I think it happens almost immediately.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these things where I say Texas has got to be Texas, and what that means is sometimes it's okay to be the bad guy. And Texas isn't necessarily willing to be the bad guy at all times. And what Texas has got to get over is that I think from a Texas perspective, I feel like they want to be liked by people. And at some point, you just got to stop worrying about that. At some point, because I'll tell you, like, Larry, when people at Texas, when they start talking about, Texas spends a lot in NIL, they get real defensive. Oh, no, we don't spend that much in NIL. We don't do all that. At some point, you don't see broke people, rather rich people complaining about the money that they have, right? They're just like, we got it, right? And so Texas, what they have to start doing is saying, you know what? We are Texas. Yeah, we spend a lot of money in NIL because we got it. Who cares, right? Because you know who's not apologizing this year for spending a lot of money in NIL? Texas Tech. Texas Tech isn't apologizing for that. And all we know is Texas Tech is going to go be a playoff team, right? And Texas said, we don't care what you think about us. We don't care what you say about us. We're going to do that. So that's why I bring it all as an example to say this. If you're Texas, what you got to do is say, get on your bully pulpit. And what you've got to say is, look, man, if you guys going to leave us out, guess what? We're canceling Notre Dame tomorrow. On Wednesday morning, we're putting out a press release. We're canceling that. Or you say, you know what? Listen, if this guy's what you're going to do, we need to get to 16 or we ain't playing ball. We're going to take our ball and go home. That's where Texas has got to be. To your point, there's guys who don't care. Kirby Smart is a guy who literally told an official, I was clapping my hands and not calling a timeout, and you guys better reverse that call. You know what they did? Man, Kirby said he was clapping his hands, man. I think we better reverse that call. He's unashamedly him, and he stands on the podium for him. The same thing you mentioned about Nick Saban, who will always fight to his team. A guy like who you probably talked about, Lane Kiffin, who says, I don't care. That's where Texas has got to be. They've got to get to the point where they say, we got to look out for self. We're going to push back on everything. And they've got to go out kicking and screaming. Because at the end of the day, you're Texas. People ain't going to like you anyway. So if they're not going to like you, then go ahead and give them a reason not to like you. But don't go there so gently into the wind. That's where Texas has got to say, you know what, we're going to flex a little bit in this instance, as opposed to being passive in that situation. But yes, can we get to 16? Not only because of that, when someone just shows them the money that's associated with it, that's easy. That's the easiest way to get to 16. And Texas could flex, or they could say, you know what, if you would have had us in, this is how much more money you could have made, and then you make the change tomorrow.
Yeah, I still believe, as we're talking to Anwar Richardson of OrangeBloods.com, I still believe that the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, his proposal of playing some play-in games, kind of like, early, have the championship that night. I think it's coming because, again, you have unbalanced schedules. You have right now in every single conference, you've got 4 or 5 teams, tied. And so you're trying to figure out by some kind of matrix who deserves to get the other spot in your conference championship game. It's going to come. That's the next thing. Okay, well, wait a minute. Why are we, why is in the Mountain West, why is New Mexico out when they beat the 2 teams who are going to the conference championship? It's
correct.
Why is Duke in, but not SMU or, or Miami? So I think that's the next thing is, listen, would we all watch 2 other games from the SEC or Big Ten? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Imagine if Texas was playing against Notre Dame this weekend as a play-in game.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that would be theater for us. And that would be more theater than the basketball thing, which is who's going to get to 64 and then get annihilated by the number 1 seed, right? Like, imagine if that you had the play-in games this year. And so, yes, the play-in, it sounds like a great option. I would love to see it. I think that would be more drama. That would be more theatrics. And they're going to expand it at some point, right? And they're going to figure out the formula on how to do it, and they'll be able to make it more feasible. But I'm with you. I would love to see something like that, not for the sake of Texas, but just for the sake of these arguments, because it's tough. Because to your point, and I totally think it's a great point, right? If you look at BYU and you ask yourself, okay, why is BYU ranked so high? Like, what if you look at their resume, why are they ranked so high? And you don't really have a compelling argument as relates to that. then we got to start thinking, okay, what exactly are we doing here, and how are we really judging these teams? Does strength of schedule really matter? Because what the committees, all the things that the committee said, strength of schedule is going to matter. It's not going to be about the eye test. They've thrown all that out. Once again, they've thrown it all out, and it's got to mean something. There's got to be some sort of consistency. Like, you can't, in theory, say, "Hey, FSU, I know you went 13-0 and you won your conference championship, but man, your quarterback got hurt, man. We ain't gonna have you." What metric was that? So there's gotta be something else that's there. And I think there's good ideas to be had. You won't satisfy everybody, right? From our broad conversation that we're having, but having at least a player game or expanding to 16, that will at least, I think, help it. And if Texas is kicking and screaming, Notre Dame's kicking and screaming, then all of a sudden you may have a little bit more momentum going behind it.
Yeah, I got about a minute left. I know you got to run as well. You mentioned Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. What does the committee do with Ole Miss on Tuesday night? And did Lane Kiffin make the right move by leaving his team in the middle of a playoff run?
They gotta let them stay because they already got a coach in place, right? So you gotta let Ole Miss stay. Did Lane Kiffin make the best decision for himself? Sure. But Lane Kiffin is just the epitome of the hypocrisy of coaches, which always talk about, you don't want distractions. I want you focused on the season, all these kind of things. The same coaches that complain about the transfer portal and the NIL and all the shift and movements. But yet when it benefits them, they're the first ones to jump and bail ship as we approach National Signing Day. Never forget that used to be the day when kids committed on a Wednesday and coaches quit on a Thursday. That's the coaching fraternity. That's what they do. They've always been hypocritical. It's always been about themselves. And Lane Kiffin is no different. He is not the outlier. He is the norm.
Yeah. Well said. We'll leave it there. Anwar, always good to talk to you, man. Good luck on Sunday. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, fellas.
All right, appreciate it. Anwar Richardson, once again, with OrangeBloods.com. Man, he says it in a way that I always go, yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So, man, he's a frequent guest on the show, and in the last 17 minutes, you just heard why, because he is always good with his insights and his take, and he's very honest. There is a guy covering Texas, calling it the way it's probably going to go down. Will it change the committee's mind? Probably not, but certainly gives them something to think about and gives the powers that be some fodder as well in terms of where we take this from here. It is college football. Football is a sport that is changing right in front of our eyes every single week. And this is the next dilemma they're going to have to figure out. Okay, the Sports IQ with Larry Smith continues after this.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. That's 800-507-7293.
Welcome back. Little NFL talk now that the week is done. Producer Tony talking. Tony, you were talking a moment ago about the situation in Pittsburgh. We are big fans of Mike Tomlin. We're also realists that it may be, in your words, time for a change.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting booed in Pittsburgh, and look, Steeler fans are among the most loyal. They're also among the most vocal fans in the entire league, right? So they are not happy. And when you are the Pittsburgh Steelers and you kind of went all in on this season, you brought in Aaron Rodgers, traded for DK Metcalf, tried to make it all work together. You're now sitting at 6-6. The most troubling thing for me, Larry, was Sunday they were facing a wounded Buffalo Bills team. minus their 2 starting tackles, with no wide receiver core to speak of. The Bills are going out and signing Brandon Cooks to come play after nobody would take a chance on him. So that they're hurting at the wide receiver. And the Bills proceeded to run for over 240 yards on the Steelers defense, the most the Steelers had ever given up in a home game. That is not good. Something isn't working there. And, at some point, you have to take a look, and it comes down to the head coach. He's the guy in charge. If it's not working, maybe it's time to make a change. You'd hate to see Mike Tomlin get fired. I'd rather see him hopefully walk away on his own terms and say, look, maybe I need to go somewhere else and talk to new players.
Yeah, it's one that, and they just do not fire head coaches. I mean, we're talking 3 head coaches in 50 plus years there. I think Chuck started back in 1969. I think Nall, Bill Cowher, and now Tomlin. But yeah, they're slow to do that. Like you said, they are as loyal as any franchise anywhere, not just NFL, but anywhere. You're exactly right. Yeah, I'm looking it up. Chuck Noll did start in 1969. So they've had 3 head. I was born in 68. They've had 3 head coaches in my lifetime, basically.
Yeah. But, you've got some franchises that have had 3 head coaches in 8 years.
This decade.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, first-year coach, another franchise that has been trying to find some stability after having it for a couple of decades, is in New England with Mike Vrabel. Dude, 11-2 right now, 10 straight wins. You've got to consider right now they're the front runner. I mean that's how well they're playing right now.
Yeah, and the interesting thing was Vrabel was a really good coach down there at Tennessee. Things went south because they could never find the right quarterback to run that offense. They tried all kinds of patchwork quarterbacks, never made it, but they had a great defense. They had Derrick Henry in the running game. Then they didn't want to pay Derrick Henry. That kind of led to their downfall, letting Derrick walk. He's done great things with the Ravens, but Mike Vrabel can flat out coach, and he has walked into a great situation. They've got a lot of young talent. They've made some smart moves in free agency, bringing on some extra defensive help, and they're rolling right now. Look, 10 wins in a row is hard to argue. And if they take the East, it may be once again, just like it was with Brady, where the road to the AFC Super Bowl goes right through New England again.
Yeah. And it's feeling like they could be the yin to the yang, Denver with Bo Nix, a couple of quarterbacks, both second-year quarterbacks coming in. We know what Sean Payton can do. His years as an assistant with Dallas, obviously, all the years the head coach in New Orleans, and he's got this team right now in his 3rd season. He's got the Broncos back up, 10-win season last year, already 10-2 this year.
Yeah, and they are built solidly. The defense is really good. They lack a little bit in the running game, and Nix hasn't been quite as good as he was last year, but he's doing enough to get things done, and he's doing it at the right time. They've been really clutch in close games. I mean, they have won at least 4 or 5 that I can think of off the top of my head, right at the buzzer, right on last kicks, last plays, things along those lines, including this past Sunday night when they got the pass knocked down. Because, look, the Commanders' receiver in that corner was wide open. If Benito does not make that play, ball game. Commanders come up with the win.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of right place, right time, the Chicago Bears 9-3. Are they that good after kind of again finding ways to win in the final minutes all season long? Maybe the most decisive win of the season was that we saw Friday in Philadelphia against the defending champs.
Yeah, I mean, they handled the Eagles pretty well. They kept the Eagles' offense in check. The defense is playing really well. Look, they're a team that takes the ball away. They are ball hawks in the secondary. They are really good at stripping the ball when the runners have it, and the offense is doing just enough. And Caleb Williams is not turning the ball over. He's not giving it back to the other team, which is key. If you can hang on to the football, especially in cold weather, now if you're the Bears and you can run the ball and play some defense up there, if you can get home field, in the playoffs, it's going to be tough to beat them. And I love Ben Johnson. Great hire. The Bears it took them a long time. We've gone through a whole bunch of coaches, but the Bears may have finally hit it out of the park with a coach hire.
Totally agree. Yeah, it has been struggle. They've been on the struggle bus since they deep sixed Lovie Smith after a 10-win season. It's still one of the great enigmas ever I will think about. But hey, they're finally back. It appears back on track and headed toward the postseason. Okay, our moment of all is up next.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
Time now for a moment of awe. When you talk about the Olympics, you'll have reporters saying, "Oh my goodness, it's not ready. My place wasn't ready, and this wasn't done." Whatever. That doesn't apply to the actual venues where you play. Except here's a problem: we are 2 months away from the Winter Olympics in Italy, and the hockey venue may not be complete. The women's tournament begins on February 5th. Yes, just over 60 days away. And so there's now a question of what they are going to do. They don't appear to have a plan B. So watch this space. Maybe hockey on a pond outside for the gold medal? I don't know. At your moment of, thanks to our guests, Mike Gross, Anwar Richardson. Thanks to you as well. It's Sports IQ, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at SportsIQ LS. We'll see you next time.